I kissed a stranger at a party right when my boyfriend showed up, and he immediately broke up with me. But honestly, it was his fault. He should have stayed home like always instead of ruining everything. Cause and effect are the pillars of logic. An action provokes a reaction. It's a fundamental law of the universe. And right now, my 3-year relationship with David is falling apart, and he has the audacity to blame me for the effect, without acknowledging that his own action was the cause. He paints me as the villain, as the traitor, when the reality is that if he hadn't acted the way he did, there would have been nothing to discover, nothing to break up over. He himself started the fire, and now he's complaining that the house is in flames. It's a hypocrisy that leaves me breathless. Our problem has always been the same, even though we've ignored it. I love social life, parties, people. I feed off the energy of a place full of music and laughter. David, on the other hand, is a homebody. He prefers a quiet night on the couch to any social event. I have always respected his nature. I have never forced him to go out, but there has always been an underlying resentment on his part, a silent disapproval every time I chose a night with my friends instead of a night with him and Netflix. Last Saturday, our mutual friend, Carla, was celebrating her birthday with a big party. It was an unmissable event. I begged David to come with me. I told him it would be fun, but he made his usual excuse. He was tired from work. He preferred a quiet night. I felt disappointed and, honestly, a little abandoned. It was as if he didn't want to participate in the part of my life that I'm most passionate about. So I went alone, determined not to let his boredom ruin my night. At the party, I let myself go. I had a couple of cocktails, I danced, I laughed, and yes, I flirted. It's not a crime. I'm an attractive woman and I like to feel desired, especially when my own partner prefers the company of his couch to mine. A guy, a friend of a friend, was especially attentive. The conversation flowed, the chemistry was undeniable, and, in a moment of euphoria, of feeling free and a little rebellious, we kissed. It wasn't premeditated, it was an impulsive kiss, unimportant, one of those party mistakes you forget the next morning. It meant nothing. At the end of the day, it was a private act, a silly thing with no consequences, or at least it should have been. The kiss didn't last more than 10 seconds. It was a fleeting moment of poor decision-making in the middle of a noisy crowd. But the instant we pulled apart, I looked up over his shoulder and my heart stopped. In the doorway to the terrace, standing and staring at me, was David. Not the David who had stayed home tired, but a David with a face pale from shock, holding a bouquet of flowers that now looked like a ridiculous offering in a scene of tragedy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What was he doing here? The initial confusion gave way to a wave of panic and, strangely, anger. He had followed me. He had come to watch me. The guy I had kissed, seeing my horrified expression, apologized and disappeared into the crowd, leaving me alone to face the catastrophe. David didn't move. He just stood there, looking at me across the room with an expression of pain and betrayal so deep it was almost unbearable. And then, without a word, he dropped the flowers on the floor, turned around and left. I ran after him, but by the time I got to the street, he was already gone. I called him once, twice, 10 times. The phone rang and rang without an answer. I sent him an avalanche of text messages trying to explain, asking him to talk to me. Silence. I went back to the party, but the atmosphere was ruined. The news of the scene had spread like wildfire. I felt judged, watched. I grabbed my things and went home, to an apartment that suddenly felt cold and empty. Hours later, at 3 a.m, he finally arrived. He didn't yell, he didn't cry. He just sat on the edge of the bed while I lay there pretending to be asleep and said in an empty voice, "It's over, Isabel." I tried to speak, I tried to start my defense, but he interrupted me. There's nothing to explain. I saw it. That's all I need to know. And he went asleep on the couch. The most important conversation of our lives, and he had reduced it to a single sentence, denying me any opportunity to defend myself, to explain the context. The next morning, the war began. And it wasn't a war about my kiss, it was a war about his appearance. I woke up and found him in the kitchen drinking coffee with a calmness that drove me crazy. I tried to talk to him again, to explain that the kiss had been an unimportant mistake, A stupid slip-up, but he wasn't interested in my explanation. And that's when my pain transformed into righteous indignation. I said to him, "You know what's the most incredible thing about all this, David? That none of this would have happened if you hadn't shown up. What were you doing there? You were supposed to be at home." And then he confessed. He told me he had felt bad for not coming, that he had decided to overcome his tiredness to surprise me, to show me that he cared. He had bought flowers on the way. The irony. And I exploded. I told him, "A surprise? It wasn't a surprise, it was an ambush. You showed up where you weren't supposed to be, without warning. And now you're blaming me for what you saw. If you had stayed home like you said you would, I would have had my silly slip-up. I would have come home and nothing would have changed. You created this situation. You are the cause of your own pain." He looked at me as if I had gone crazy. He told me my logic was twisted, that I was blaming the victim. But I don't see it that way. It's a simple chain of cause and effect. My kiss was a private act contained within the party's ecosystem, a tree falling in the forest with no one to hear it. But he, with his decision to surprise me, entered the forest. He was the one who gave it sound, who turned it into a problem. At the end of the day, his unexpected appearance was the real cause of the breakup. It's the only logical explanation. My argument, which to me is overwhelmingly logical, has been received by him as proof of my madness and lack of remorse. It's unbelievable. I'm trying to make him see how his own action was the key piece that triggered the disaster, and he interprets it as me not being sorry. Of course I'm sorry. I'm sorry that he caught us in such a dramatic way. The situation is unbearable. David has gone to his brother's house and refuses to talk to me. He has informed me, through a cold and curt text message, that the relationship is over and that he will come for his things during the week, but I can't accept it. I can't allow our 3-year relationship to be demolished by such an absurd chain of events, where the main culprit refuses to see his own responsibility. He's obsessed with my kiss, but I'm obsessed with his appearance. What's worse? An impulsive and meaningless kiss at a party, or the act of distrust that is going to surprise your girlfriend? Because let's be honest, it wasn't an innocent surprise, it was a checkup. Deep down, he didn't trust me and went to the party to see if his suspicions were true. And by doing so, he himself brought about the catastrophe he feared. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I feel incredibly frustrated and powerless. I'm being punished, not for my action, but for the fact that he witnessed it. And he witnessed it by his own decision. It's like someone putting a hidden camera in your bathroom and then getting angry for seeing you naked. The crime is not the nudity, it's the camera. His spying, his violation of my personal space at that party, is the real betrayal of trust. My kiss was just a minor offense, but he has managed to get everyone, including himself, to focus on my fault, completely ignoring his, which is much more serious. I can't let his narrative prevail. I can't be the only villain in a story that he himself CEO wrote with his distrust. I need someone to make him see the light, someone whose opinion he respects and can't dismiss as my crazy ex. And that person is Carla, our mutual friend, the host of the party. She is the perfect neutral witness. My plan is to talk to Carla. I need her to become my mediator. I'm going to explain my theory to her, the logic of cause and effect. I will ask her to talk to David, not as my defender, but as a friend to both of them. I want her to ask him the questions he refuses to hear from me. Questions like, "David, don't you think showing up suddenly at a party was a bit controlling?" Or, "I understand your pain, but don't you see that if you had stayed home none of this would have been a problem?" I want Carla to make him understand that his decision to go to the party was in itself a lack of trust that poisoned the situation. I want her to explain that his surprise was an invasion and that his reaction has been disproportionate. Carla is a very sensible and diplomatic person. If she presents it to him calmly, maybe he'll listen. Maybe a third party's perspective will make him realize his own role in this disaster. I'm not asking Carla to excuse me. I'm asking her to present David with the full picture, to show him that there are two sides to this story and that his side involves controlling and paranoid behavior. I'm not trying to avoid my responsibility. I just want him to assume his. And his responsibility is being in the wrong place, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. It's the only way we can start talking about a reconciliation. Popular comments from Reddit. Anonymous user. 1. Your logic is so incredibly twisted it's almost an art form. If he hadn't followed me, he would never have found out. This is the justification of a child, not an adult. You're blaming the smoke detector for going off during a fire you started yourself. The problem isn't that he caught you. The problem is that there was something to catch. Your infidelity is the original sin here and his appearance was simply the consequence. Reply from the OP. The fire analogy is incorrect. My kiss was not a fire. It was a lit candle in a dark room, harmless. He, by throwing the door open, created a draft that spread the flame and burned the house down. His action was the catalyst, not mine. Without his intervention, the candle would have burned out without causing any harm. Anonymous user 2, you're practicing textbook gaslighting. Not only are you trying to convince your boyfriend that he's the culprit, but now you're trying to drag your friend into your web of manipulation. You want her to be your spokesperson to sell your ex your delusional narrative? You're putting your friend in a horrible position, forcing her to choose between her loyalty to you and objective truth. Reply from the OP. It's not manipulation, it's seeking mediation. And the objective truth is that he showed up where he shouldn't have. That's a fact just as objective as my kiss. I just want both facts to be put on the table with the same weight. Carla doesn't have to choose, she just has to be fair and present both sides of the story. Anonymous user 3, his spying, his violation of my personal space at that party, is the real betrayal of trust. And what about your lie? What about your decision to go to the party alone with the intention, conscious or not, of seeking the attention of other men? That's not a betrayal of trust. You've created a hierarchy of betrayals in which yours is a minor offense and his is a capital crime. It's a very convenient moral accounting for you. Reply from the OP, of course there's a hierarchy. A lie to avoid conflict is an administrative offense. Spying and stalking are a serious crime. They're not in the same league. And my intention was not to seek the attention of other men, it was to enjoy the party. The kiss was an accident, an unintended consequence. His appearance was a deliberate decision. Update 1. My attempt to use Carla as a voice of reason has turned into the most painful betrayal of all. I spoke with her just as I had planned. I laid out my logic. I explained in great detail how David's appearance had been the true catalyst for the disaster. I asked her, I begged her, to talk to him, to make him see the light. And she, my best friend, the host of the party, agreed. She said she understood my pain and would try to talk to him as a friend to both of them. A week of agonizing silence passed. Finally, Carla called me. Her tone was strange, distant. She told me she had spoken with David. And then, instead of giving me the good news I was expecting, instead of telling me that David had come to his senses, she gave me a sermon. She said, Isabel, I've spoken with him, and you need to hear this. He's devastated, but not because he caught you. He's devastated by the kiss itself. And he told me something I think you need to hear. He told me he realizes the relationship was broken long before that night. And, honestly, I believe it too. You should ask yourself why you needed to kiss another man instead of blaming David for seeing it. I was speechless. My ally, my witness, had become his psychologist. Not only had she not defended my point of view, but she had adopted his and was throwing it in my face. I accused her of betraying me, of taking his side. I yelled at her how she dared to analyze me when what I had asked her to do was confront him. The conversation ended with her telling me, with genuine sadness, that she couldn't continue to be my accomplice in this self-deception, and she hung up. So now I'm completely alone. David has managed to poison my best friend against me. He has managed to make her, who should be my biggest support, become another voice in the chorus singing the song of Isabel is the guilty one. This is no longer a misunderstanding, it's a coordinated campaign. David is not just breaking up with me, he's trying to erase me from my own social circle, and he's using the people I love most as his weapons. Popular comments from Reddit about the update. 1. Anonymous user 4. Your friend hasn't betrayed you. She has done you the biggest favor a friend can do. She has told you the truth you don't want to hear. She has offered you a perspective based on empathy for both of you, and she has invited you to introspect. And your reaction has been to attack her and accuse her of being part of a coordinated campaign. You keep shooting every messenger who brings you a message you don't like. Reply from the OP: the truth she has offered me is David's version. She let herself be manipulated by his victim story. She hasn't been empathetic, she has been biased. And yes, it's a betrayal. A best friend's loyalty should be unconditional, especially in a crisis. Anonymous user. 5. You should ask yourself why you needed to kiss another man. Your friend Carla has given you the key to the whole thing, but you're still obsessed with the door and refuse to look at the key. As long as you stay focused on blaming David for his appearance, you'll never understand why your own action happened in the first place, and you'll keep repeating the same pattern. Reply from the OP: I already know why it happened. Because I was bored and felt ignored. It's not a deep psychological mystery. It's a normal human reaction. The problem isn't why I did it, it's why he reacted in such a destructive way. Anonymous user 6. David has managed to poison my best friend against me. It's fascinating how in your mind David is this Machiavellian master manipulator and you and your friends are simple pawns on his board. Doesn't it occur to you that maybe your friend has reached her own conclusion based on her knowledge of you both and the logic of the situation? It's easier to believe in a conspiracy than to accept that the people who love you think you're wrong. Reply from the OP: it's not a conspiracy, it's influence. He has presented his version of the story to her in such a convincing way, with his sad puppy look, that she has fallen into the trap. She hasn't reached her own conclusion, she has adopted his. Final update. A year and a half has passed. A year and a half of a bitterness that has become my constant companion. As expected, David and I never got back together. The breakup was final and my friendship with Carla faded away. The rift that opened that night was too great. Now we greet each other with cold formality if we see each other on the street. Two strangers with a lot of shared memories. I have lost my boyfriend and my best friend. All over a kiss, or rather, over a man's reaction to a kiss. But the story, my personal tragedy, has an epilogue. A final ironic and cruel twist. The news reached me last week through the inevitable grapevine of social media, and it has shattered me in a way I didn't think possible. David has a new girlfriend. They've been dating for about 6 months and it seems serious. And the new girlfriend is Carla. Carla, my ex-best friend, the woman I myself sent to talk to him, the one who gave me a sermon on introspection. All this time, while she was giving me advice and acting as a neutral mediator, she was, apparently, building her own bridge to him on the ruins of mine. The betrayal is so deep, so Shakespearean, it's almost artistic. And now I see everything with a terrible clarity. This wasn't a series of unfortunate events, it was a conspiracy from the beginning. David's surprise at the party, Carla's refusal to support me. It all fits. There was probably already something between them. My kiss with another man wasn't the cause of the breakup, it was the perfect excuse they both needed. He provoked me, ignoring me at the party, knowing that I would react. And she, my friend, was there waiting to pick up the pieces. I'm not paranoid. I'm an idiot for not having seen it sooner. My only mistake wasn't the kiss. My mistake was trusting the two people closest to me. Popular comments from Reddit about the final update. Anonymous user 1, you've reached the most dramatic and self-serving conclusion possible. Instead of accepting the much more likely possibility that two single people, brought together by a traumatic experience that you caused, found comfort in each other, and over time developed feelings, you have decided that they were the masterminds of a Machiavellian conspiracy to destroy you. Your need to be the victim of a grand plot is endless. Reply from the app, and what's the probability of that? That my ex-boyfriend just happens to fall in love with my ex-best friend after I brought them together? It's too much of a coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in motives. And their motive was clear. They wanted to be together, and I was the obstacle. Anonymous user 7. After you sent me to talk to him, we stayed in touch as friends, both hurt by your actions. And months later something sparked. This is probably the truth. And it's a truth that is painful for you, but not a conspiracy. You pushed them towards each other yourself. You created a bond between them. You are the common theme that probably brought them together in the first place. It's the ultimate irony, and it is entirely of your own making. Reply from the AB, I didn't unite them. I created a crisis situation, and they, instead of helping me solve it, took advantage of it for their own benefit. They are two vultures who met at a funeral and decided to go to dinner together. It's disgusting. User Anonymous 8. This is a fascinating conclusion. You have gone from blaming your boyfriend for his insecurity to blaming him and your best friend for a master conspiracy. At every stage, the responsibility moves further and further away from you. You have managed to build a fortress of self-deception so impenetrable that probably nothing will be able to tear it down. You are condemned to live as the tragic heroine of a movie that only exists in your head. Reply from the app, maybe my movie is the only one that tells the truth. And yes, it's a tragedy, but at least now I know who the real villains are. And that clarity, however painful it may be, is better than the confusion.